Okay. Is sleep still a thing anymore in 2021? It's a lie. It's a lie. Hey, awesome mama. This is Lyssah with Mama Wears Many Hats. And today we are discussing toddlers not sleeping and why, and what you might just be able to do about it. Thank you so much. If this is your first time, welcome, welcome. This is a world where we talk all things motherhood, even the hard and crappy stuff. Speaking of which, today we're talking about some of that hard and crappy stuff, and that is toddlers not sleeping. I'm not alone, right? Someone else out there, your toddler isn't sleeping, right? It's not just mine. Definitely is mine though. Definitely. For those of you who this might be your first time, my name is Lyssah. I'm a mother to 3, a wife to 1, and just like you, I'm sure, wear all the hats. And lately, I feel like I have been wearing the night nurse or sleep therapist hat. Come on, we all know when we sign up for being a mom that we're going to have sleepless nights. We don't necessarily think they're going to extend into when our child is 3 years old. And some of us are smart and don't make it even harder by adding a younger one into that mix. This girl right here. Today, I want to share with you a little bit of our journey in dealing with childhood sleep issues and maybe share some things that have worked for us and hopefully will help you. Whether that is giving you some things to try or even just encouraging you to talk to your pediatrician or primary care physician and figure out what is going on with your kiddos. So this is where I have to insert that whole disclaimer that says, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a sleep therapist. I'm not a sleep consultant. I don't know your individual issue, so I cannot tell you what you should be doing for your children. So please, before you take anything that I talk about in this video and take it to heart, make sure to discuss it with your PCP or your kid's physician or whoever it is. Please just make sure you're making wise, informed decisions. That is the purpose of this video, to inform you of some things that you may not know or may not have heard of. Take it under advisement, talk through it with your doctor or a medical professional, someone who knows your situation specifically, and make those calls for yourself. Disclaimer over. As I mentioned in my Hey, I'm Back video, one of the things that we have been dealing with this year is with our middle child, Everly. She's adorable. She just turned 3 on Christmas Day. Here's a current picture. She's just beautiful. I love her so much. I've gotten to spend so much time with her. One-on-one time, which for a middle child is so rare. But that's because she insists on being awake in the middle of the night for hours and hours and hours on end. And no, that's not hyperbole or exaggeration. That has been our life. So it started about a year ago. Everly, she's never been a great sleeper. Let me just start out with that. When she was younger, she had colic, and then she just never slept great. And we just thought that was because she didn't get, good practice when she was younger because of the colic or whatever the case was. So we always just kind of wrote it off as her being a bad sleeper. And then we would get little glimpses of good, where she'd sleep for 4-hour stretches, or every once in a while she would sleep through 8 blissful hours. And then just before 2020, it started getting really rough. And I assumed, she's probably just going through a sleep regression. It's because we just had Milo, our third. It's just this, it's just starting to have dreams. No, she's probably having night terrors. Like, there are so many reasons why when you consult Dr. Google, your child may not be sleeping. I tried all the things. I even talked with my favorite resource, which is a mom's Facebook group that I'm part of. I asked them, and everyone had all the different things you could try. Have you cut out dairy? Have you tried essential oils? You just need to let her cry it out. Seriously, the list goes on, all the advice that I got. So I want to tell you some of the things that we did that helped us and have actually helped us with all of our kids in the sleep realm. I want to give you some resources, and then I want to talk about when there actually are extenuating issues like we found out we do have. Number one, some of the things that you can first try doing if you're having trouble with your kids sleeping. One of the things that really encouraged us or helped us understand that we were having a legitimate issue with Everly was it started taking her hours to go to sleep. Hours. And she was also not napping. So she would be up, she'd wake up at 6:30 in the morning. She wouldn't take a nap. We'd put her down at 6:30 or 7, and she'd be up till 9 o'clock. And sometimes it wasn't a big deal because she'd just sing or look at books in her bed, But then it got to the point where she was getting bored, so she would get out, she would play. It created some really bad habits that then we had to break her of. When it comes to going to sleep, I highly encourage you guys to check out a couple things. Number one, first thing that you want to look at is what is your bedtime routine? As we were going through all these issues with Everly, one of the first things her pediatrician suggested to us was to evaluate her bedtime routine. Kids love consistency. Even if they fight against it, they love it. So I've been told. First thing we did was look at What does our evening look like? One of the first things that her pediatrician also recommended was making sure she wasn't having screen time for at least an hour before bed. On the end of this, I can look back and say, I don't know that screen time really made a difference for us in this whole process, but it's definitely something to evaluate. There are lots of resources and articles out there that talk about the importance of the type of lighting that your kids are experiencing before they go to bed, things like that. So that is a great thing to check out if your kid is having a hard time winding down and going to sleep. Are they having screens within an hour of bedtime? If so, maybe try taking that away for a little while and seeing if that helps. So that's one of the first things we did. We eliminated screen time before bed. Not that they were having a lot of screen time, but like after we'd have baths and stuff, sometimes we'd let them watch 15-minute show or something mellow, because we were trying to get them in a mellow space, but we had no idea that light could be impacting them that way. Make sure you check out if your kid is watching screens before bed. Number 2, keep a consistent routine. As you start your baby's bedtime routine, that communicates to their body, hey, it is time to start relaxing. It is time to start finding my quiet place. It is time to put today to rest. I mean, we do the same thing. We go in, we brush our teeth, we get in our pajamas, we, read a book, or we scroll through Facebook, which FYI, apparently that whole screen thing goes for us as well as adults. Let's be realistic. I'm probably not cutting out screens right before bed, but it's something to consider. You want to provide that same continuity for your children. They don't have the ability to plan that for themselves. What our new routine looks like is we have dinner, we get the older 2 ready, they do baths and showers, we get them in their jammies. Then I will spend some time with Everly. I brush her hair and just talk with her, give her hugs, give her cuddles. We go into her bedroom, I tuck her in. She has this mermaid blanket that she likes, so we put on her mermaid blanket and then we cover her with the yellow blanket. And then for a time we were reading books, and sometimes we still read books. It really just depends on what the flow of the evening is. On the nights when we don't read books, what we do then is we will, with Everly, I sing to her, say a prayer, and I do say the same prayer every night, again, because it creates that continuity. It's one that we've developed within our own family, and it just helps trigger her, hey, it's time for sleep, it's time for rest. And then I sing the same song to her every night. I give her a hug, I give her a kiss, and I leave the room. Number 1, if your kid is having trouble settling down for sleep, check out your sleep routine. Should take less than 30 minutes because you don't want to drag it out too long. Should be relaxing, low stimulation, just helping them get to that zen place. Maybe. Number 2, if your kid is having difficult times falling asleep or staying asleep, there are some supplements that our pediatrician recommended to us that you could talk through with your pediatrician as well. I found personally that these things were the biggest help for us. The first thing with Everly in particular that we started with was magnesium. Magnesium helps with blood, it helps with different things like that, and it really started to make a difference for her in being able to relax and then go to sleep and stay asleep. Some other supplements that our pediatrician had us start, because that wasn't solving it, it helped some, did not solve it, was we checked her iron levels and her D3 level. Her iron levels were low. So she has been on a regimen for the past 4 months or so of taking 3 gummies. I can't think of how many milligrams that is right now, so I'll put it down here how many milligrams that is, of iron to help build up her store. Kids have low iron stores. It doesn't mean they're anemic. It's the stores actually in their iron. That can lead to restless leg syndrome and different things like that. We got her on an iron supplement, and the same thing with D3. The D3, from my personal experience now being 6 months into this process of actually trying to identify what's wrong with Everly, has shown me that for her, the biggest thing that helps with the middle of the night wakings and being up for long periods of time is the D3. We've had a couple times where like our shipment got delayed or the mail took too long, and so we ran out, especially because she takes 2 gummies of the D3 every night, and we do her gummies right before bed. So she gets 1 magnesium gummy, 2 D3 gummies, and 3 iron gummies. When she's gone more than a couple days without her D3, that is when I see the night wakings start up again. As soon as I get her back on, and not night wakings, but like the night wakings and staying up for extended periods of time, like hours, like 3 or 4 hours. As soon as I get her back on that D3, I see those start to phase out. And then she goes back to where she'll still wake up periodically. We might have her crying out in the middle of the night, something like that, but we don't have those waking up and being up for extended periods of time. The D3, I don't know, it just helps her to be relaxed. I will see if I can get some information, put that below about the impacts of D3 on sleep. And I will say this, I have noticed with Milo as well, when I use D3 drops with him nursing before bed, the same thing happens. He has better sleep consistently and less extended periods of wake time in the evenings. Milo's in the other room while I'm recording. Don't worry, his dad's over there too. I'm just keeping an eye on him. So those supplements have definitely helped in our journey to finding out why Everly isn't sleeping. And obviously you want to check sugar and all those fun things. The stuff that you eat totally can be impacting. Just take it with a grain of salt, talk to your pediatrician about that. Those are the supplements that have actually helped us. Continuing on with our journey, because it didn't end there. It wasn't just night terrors. It wasn't just night wakings. I talked with our pediatrician when we had started all of this stuff. We were doing the supplements. We were trying all these things. And she was still just not sleeping well, waking up crying. I noticed that when she would fall asleep, even in her car seat, she'd be sleeping like, and she would periodically do this. Or she would start coughing, or things that I was recognizing were not normal. I would go in and look at her when she was asleep just to check and make sure everything was okay. And I noticed that her head was like tilted at a weird angle. She snored, she was mouth breathing, and I was just like, something is not right about this. So really quick, if you're a parent who's having a kid who is not sleeping well, I want you to write those things down. Does your child snore? Do they mouth breathe? Do they sleep in weird positions? Do they wake up gasping or coughing or seeming like they can't breathe? If they do, you might want to talk to your pediatrician about the possibility that your child has what's known as sleep apnea. The most common type of sleep apnea in children is obstructive sleep apnea. This can be caused if your child is overweight, which you can see Evie is not overweight. She's 3. She's still in 2T clothes. She's tiny. She's not like tiny, but she's not in any way overweight in a way that would cause obstructive sleep apnea. I started talking to her pediatrician about that. And after doing some examinations, they checked her tonsils because that's one of the main causes of obstructive sleep apnea. They decided that based on her tonsils, they were enlarged, but not like concerningly enlarged per se. I found out later from the ENT that tonsils have 5 stages, and I will see if I can get a picture of those 5 stages to put here. Evie was at a stage 2. And so again, that's enlarged, but not too bad. Then the other thing is when you listen to Everly, you can hear that she just sounds stuffy all the time. So I mentioned that and her doctor listened and was like, yeah, she does sound stuffy. I just thought maybe she was stuffy. And I'm like, no, this is how she sounds 24/7. She's always stuffy. Our pediatrician, who is amazing, decided to refer us for a sleep study. And then at the same time as when referring us for a sleep study, because she was suspecting obstructive sleep apnea, she also referred us to an ENT. Normally we would go to the ENT would have us do the sleep study, or we would go to the ENT would have us start a certain regimen and then come back and evaluate and all this kind of stuff. And for some reason, her pediatrician saw fit to fast track it. So she went ahead and set us up with the sleep study and the meeting with the ENT. While we were waiting for the sleep study, we met with the ENT. The ENT started us on Flonase, which is a nasal spray, and I'll put it down here. It's a pink pill. It's another kind of like allergy to help with inflammation of the nose and things like that. Because after meeting with the ENT, the one thing that she mentioned to us was it looked like Evie had severely enlarged adenoids. And we wouldn't be able to tell that without scoping, but we were going to start the treatment of the Flonase and the rest of it to see if that would help and if that would make a difference. We went through that. She was on that for about 6 weeks before we had our sleep study. We had our sleep study. I can do a video. Let me know below if you'd be interested in knowing what a sleep study actually is. If I put that in here, it'd be way longer than it needs to be. If you would like another video about how to prepare your child for a sleep study, what a sleep study is, so you can prepare yourself, all that kind of stuff, let me know in the comments below, and I can look at making another video about that. We did our sleep study. We circled back with the ENT after the results were in, and as it turned out, Evie's obstructive sleep apnea was legit. It was a mild to moderate case, I guess you could say. They look at how many times the kids stop breathing. They look at all these different things, and Evie's adjusted number after they factor out, I guess, what's normal for your brain to stop breathing, was a 3.9. And like a super concerning number is a 5. So she wasn't to the 5 yet, but she was definitely at a point where it was concerning and where action probably needed to be taken. Now, if we hadn't already been on the Flonase combo going on, she would have been started on that. But because we'd already been doing that for 6 weeks, we could see that it wasn't actually helping her. Or if it was helping her, it was only bringing her to a place of it being a mild case or mild to moderate case. Additionally, when we went in for the follow-up with the ENT, we found out that her tonsils were actually now at a stage 3. We don't know specifically what caused that, 2 versus 3, but they were larger now at this point. After talking with her doctor, our next steps, which we are actually currently in the process of walking out, and I will be sharing what I learned through this process with you in case you're walking this out as well, is that she needs to have surgery to remove her tonsils and her adenoids. So for those of you who don't know, adenoids, I guess, are actually what create snot and help, you're with that. And what basically happens if a child has obstructive sleep apnea is that when they're sleeping and they relax, either their tonsils, if they're too close, can block off their airway, or their adenoids, again, when they relax, are blocking off their airway as well. So that is what obstructive sleep apnea is. And it's unfortunately not that rare in toddlers, but a lot of times it goes undiagnosed because people tend to write it off as their kid is not a good sleeper. That is kind of what our journey has been. And it's something that if you feel like your child is not sleeping and in your mama gut, there's something going on, I highly encourage you, talk with your pediatrician. Feel free to bring up the things in this video and see, hey, would this be something safe and good for us to try with our child to see if maybe these supplements might help, or if, should we consult an ENT? Should we look at doing a sleep study? All that kind of stuff. So I will go ahead and in the description, I will leave a list of those supplements and I will leave a link to the ones we order. We just get them off Amazon. And my kids love them. Like my son gets mad that he doesn't have to take as many as my daughter does. So, and just totally letting you know, the links that I'm using down there are affiliate links because I am signed up as an Amazon affiliate. So if you use them, doesn't cost you anything extra. I might get a little kickback. I don't know if you really get a kickback from gummies, but these are products that I use regardless. And I'll even put the names, so if you just want to Google them, you can do that too. So that is how it works. That is one or a couple of the things that you can look at to see if they will help your child sleep better. So I want to know, how are your kids sleeping? Has anyone else walked through this? If your child has encountered obstructive sleep apnea or you've walked through that, let me know in the comments. I would love to know what I should be expecting as we walk through surgery and healing. I will be documenting that as well, so everyone else who comes behind us knows what they can look for. So that's it. Thank you so much for being here today. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, especially if you would like to see our continued journey with Evie's sleeplessness, and or just, see if I function better on sleep. Maybe I'm more entertaining. Maybe I'm less. I don't know. So that's it. Make sure to subscribe. If this has helped you, give it a like. And if you know any other families who are struggling with children who may not be sleeping, please feel free to send it to them. And as I know is most likely the case, if you are the only one who watched this, it was so worth it. I am for you, Mama. I am with you, Mama. And I know that you can do this. You may be sleep deprived, you may be exhausted, but you can do this, okay? We are in it together. And heck, if you are watching this in the middle of the night because you Googled, why doesn't my child sleep? Let me know. Maybe I'll jump on and do a middle of the night live for those people who are up with their kids who aren't sleeping. All right, mamas, I love you. Go birth beauty into every arena of your life.